Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Viva Film Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please let us know. Look at us and tell us if you've known us before. My name, it's Anthony, and today I am joined yet again by my fellow circus performer, Caleb. Caleb, how's it going?
You know, it's going good. I'm hanging in there. I'm so
Yeah.
sleepy. I'm so tired.
Well, that's why we have coffee. I'm drinking some tea right now. So, there's options out there. There's options to caffeinate if you need.
Exactly.
Um, I see here today you are sitting on your front lawn with a cow and with a sign that says "For your consideration, Laura Dern." Would you mind explaining to us what's going on behind you?
I just think it's time.
You think it's time?
I think it's time. It's been 20 years this year since Inland Empire came out, and I think it's finally time to give Laura Dern an Academy Award for this movie. I know she won it for Marriage Story, which I know is your favorite movie from your favorite filmmaker. Um,
Yeah.
but I think she really deserves it for Inland Empire. So let's retroactively give her the Oscar. I don't know who won for that award season. I don't remember,
Yeah, I did not look it
but
up, but
let's give it to our pal, our personal friend Laura Dern.
our personal friend Laura Dern, which that can lead us into what we did, I think a couple weeks now. It's been a couple weeks now since it
Yeah.
happened. But Caleb, you and I, we've seen Laura Dern now in person, in real life, in
Yes.
the
We were like
flesh.
20 feet away from her.
At one point, yes, we were about like 20 feet away from her. Yeah, a few weeks ago, the Academy Museum, which is here in Los Angeles, where I am in Los Angeles. Caleb is not in LA right now; he's at home. But the Academy Museum was doing a retrospective, if you will, or maybe it was a birthday celebration for David Lynch. They were showing his films, and you and I went to two screenings of his films. The first
Yes.
one we went to was the film we're talking about today, Inland Empire. And um, we also went to a showing of Wild at Heart as well. And both films were introduced by the very lovely, the very amazing Laura Dern. She came out on stage and she introduced both films. How was that for you, Caleb? Like, how cool was it to see one of the stars of the film and hear her talk about her experience making these movies?
It was incredible. Like I found it was a really beautiful experience in a lot of ways. Because especially like seeing her like back-to-back nights talk about it, where she's one of my favorite actors, which I know you feel the exact same way
Yes.
as I do about that. I think she's brilliant, and just a very cool person in general. And hearing her talk about Inland Empire was so fascinating and interesting, like beforehand, even as someone who like I hadn't seen it before. And then hearing her talk about Wild at Heart, which of course is one of my favorite movies, my favorite David Lynch movie, and we talked about it on the last episode, and it was very emotional because like she was talking about her mom, Diane Ladd, and got a little bit emotional,
Hmm.
and then she was talking a lot about like working with David, and then she asked us to sing Happy Birthday to him, which was a really incredible moment. I mean, not us personally, like she asked the entire crowd. It wasn't just like Caleb and Anthony, you will sing, but it was all of us together. And it was really
Yes.
beautiful. It was communal, and where it was this thing where like we were all coming together to celebrate a really incredible artist who I suppose speaks to me and you a lot.
Hmm.
And also, ever since I've been watching so many David Lynch movies, that my dreams have gotten out of control. I was telling you about one of them earlier, which I won't repeat on here, but
Right.
I have been having insane dreams. Even this morning, I woke up and I had dreamt I did something that I thought I did, and I was like, "Oh, I thought I did that." Really weird. Having really weird dreams related to work.
Yeah.
I had a dream that I was Peter Dinklage recently.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know, Caleb. These are questions you have to ask yourself, and you have to kind of, dive into the water of your dreams, the sea of your dreams to catch that fish and to figure out, what's going on here.
Yeah,
But
and I have a therapist, so I could always ask her.
Does your therapist specialize in interpreting dreams?
Not that I know of, but I can ask her.
Yeah, you can always ask her if what her opinions are on these dreams of yours.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, you did tell me about a couple of your dreams before we started recording, and I told you like, hey Caleb, write them down in a
yeah,
little dream journal, and figure out like what the fuck is going on here, what's happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a place to start, you know, because you could argue that like a lot of David Lynch's films, especially Inland Empire, feels like a dream.
Yes, yeah, and that I mean that's something that David Lynch always spoke about was just like, making it dreamy, right? Making it feel like a dream, like you're
Yeah,
you're watching a dream, projected onto a giant screen, which is of course wonderful. It's why I think his movies resonate so much with us, and not just us like you and I, but David Lynch's fans is because they do feel otherworldly. They're very surreal and very abstract, and they make you think. And these are films that you can watch a dozen times and still get something new out of it each time.
yeah, and you know and it's funny because I know that that's because I know on the films we worked on that like I know that you really took like the kind of dreaminess vibe like very seriously. Like especially since like on Same Mistakes, it's a very because in early versions of Same Mistakes when I was writing it, I wrote that one draft where it was like nonsensical. I don't know if you remember that, where it was only like the kind of like the more dreamy elements of it, and then whenever we ended up filming it, you recommended doing the fog machine, and which I think added so much to it. And it was really funny because a good friend of ours, who I'm not going to name in this moment, I started showing it. It was either Same Mistake. I think it was either Same Mistakes or Life Sucks. I don't remember which one. And the second time he went, "Oh, there's something wrong with the camera. Why does it look like that?" And I was like, "Dude, it's the fucking it's a stylistic choice."
Yeah, yeah. To use the fog machine when you're shooting on digital, it gives the image some sense of depth, and it has a dreamy quality, especially in Same Mistakes. Like there's that great shot in Same Mistakes that I've posted on my Instagram and I've posted on my Facebook, I think before, but it's the shot of Millie and Pfeiffer is like reaching their hand out to Millie and like kind of putting it under their chin, under Millie's
Yeah,
chin, and I just love the way that looks.
no,
And
yeah,
it's a beautiful shot, and it's one of those things that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of how that shot looks.
yeah. And you did a great job with the editing in Life Sucks.
Oh,
Too like
thank you.
where yeah, where I remember in the opening, it was a lot more. The opening was originally longer,
Hmm.
and you edited it to be a lot more dreamlike and where there's actually no dialogue in it which there originally there well the original it was there was originally a 3-page dialogue scene which you convinced me to cut down early on, which I think was a good move because I there's one thing I love to do is I love to write a shit ton of dialogue, and it's my worst habit as a writer. um and and the way you cut it to make it so dreamy and it was great, and part of that's also on Amada and Millie as well, who both just have incredible presences on screen. Sorry, I just realized that I kind of turned this into talking about our shit, but it is in relation to this where like the how the way that David Lynch uses this kind of like dreamy feeling is a very like inspirational thing to us as filmmakers, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point is that, David Lynch has inspired like so many young artists, both, and we touched on this a little bit in our first episode, but, like artists, like musicians, photographers, other filmmakers, you and I. So, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that, we would incorporate, certain aspects of his, you know, movies and of his editing, into our films because we like them so much, some of our favorite movies, and especially the movie that we're talking about today, which I feel like is just such a mind fuck of a
Yeah,
film of a film. Um, Caleb, prior to seeing this film at the Academy Museum with the lovely, the enigmatic, the wonderful Laura Dern herself, um, you had never seen this movie before.
I had not. I own it on Blu-ray.
Hmm.
on the Criterion Blu-ray, and I have been meaning to watch it. And it's one of his only. So now the Elephant Man is the only of his features I haven't seen.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, it was my first time. It was really weird because like the circumstances was I was tired. I was very sleepy because it'd been like a long day, and I'm not gonna get into the whole thing with how my hotel fucking sucked that I was staying in. But that was annoying, and I was very tired, and that added to it because this is like 3 hours long,
Yeah.
and it felt like I was like watching. It felt like I was having a nightmare the entire time watching it. I was like, holy fuck, this is like, and, it was, and I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna sound weird, but I was like, oh my god, I want this to end, and not in a way that the movie is bad, but in a way I was like, this is upsetting, like
It
this is
is.
unsettling, and I want this to, I want to wake up now.
I want to wake up from my nightmare. But I mean, what a way to really see this film for the first time, though, on the
No,
big
yeah,
screen, watching the most recent 4K restoration that came out a few years ago. I think the first time I watched this movie was on DVD
mm,
in like 2008 or something. It was a while ago. The first time I saw it, and the first time I saw it, I did obviously I did not get it. I don't know. I didn't know what the fuck was going on,
yeah,
and I think it's probably like the biggest gap in like my first and second viewing, because my first viewing was like in the 2000s at some point, and I had not seen this film at all since, up until the 4K restoration, which I think happened in 2022 or
yeah,
2023. So more than a decade gap between my first and second viewing of this film, and seeing it then and then seeing it again at the Academy, and then I watched it again this morning because I felt like I needed to. I had to. It is becoming one of my favorites of his,
mm,
and I still think that like Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet are like my top two, and then like Wild at Heart would be like a very close third. But I think this is like probably in my top five. Um, I don't know if you've done a ranking of your Lynch films, Kayla, but where would you put Inland Empire, and kind of where do you hold it in regards to the rest of his filmography?
so I do have a list. Let me pull it up right now. Oh my goodness, there, David Lynch ranked. So I have it pretty high. I actually have it above Mulholland Drive.
Wow.
I have it at number. I have the Twin Peaks stuff included here, but as far as his features go, it's also in my top five. Actually, it's number five. I have it below Fire Walk with Me.
Okay.
But I no, I really and Mulholland Drive. I want to rewatch again because I've seen it a couple times, and I feel like if I like, I love that movie, but I think if I watched it again, it would probably go up a little bit.
Okay.
But no, I think Inland Empire is such a great, and it's a bummer because like it ended up being his final feature that he directed.
Hmm.
And like I remember me and you were talking about this on the way back after we watched it. I was just like, even though like that was never the intention for this to be his last movie, it kind of feels like his last movie. Like
Right.
especially like at the very end where like you mentioned how it kind of felt like during the credits that there's a lot of references to his previous projects.
Hmm.
And it's like in a way it works. It's like I don't know. There is something about it that it just feels kind of like going from Eraserhead to this. And it's not the last thing he ever worked on. Obviously, like What Did Jack Do, which is fucking lovely,
Yeah.
and Twin Peaks: The Return, which I think is the best thing he ever made.
Hmm.
And but like you go from like Eraserhead to this, which that's over what, like 30 years, right? Like 29 years,
Yep,
roughly.
about, yeah. I think Eraserhead was 77,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
was
So
2006.
yes. So it's like, and you kind of look at it like that, and you're just like, there is something about that, like, where you start with this with the Racerhead, which we haven't talked about on the podcast yet, but we will one day,
Absolutely, we have to.
because we love Jack Nance in this house.
Yeah.
And like, a Racerhead is this very like surreal, like strange film where you're like, there is a plot, and you're watching things happen, but you're like, what exactly is this?
Hmm.
Why is the chicken bleeding? Why is why is the baby look like that? Like just different things like that. And
Yeah.
then you kind of like progress and you see him change, not as an artist. I think his voice is always there, Dune aside. Um, but like you get to this point with Inland Empire where it's just like fully that evolution of just like it's just I'm gonna be comparing it to a dream a lot, but that's what it feels like. It is this dream where it almost feels like these vignettes of like different moments in a life, either imagined or like remembered in a different way or dreamt,
Hmm.
where you're like it makes complete sense as that kind of bookend of like, oh, this is his last feature, and it's like his most, I would say, his most experimental, and his like, and this is a huge or a weird thing to say, but his weirdest film maybe,
Okay. Yeah.
where it's just like because I remember after we watched it, my interpretation of it. I don't was very different from how you felt about it, which I think yours is a little more spot on, but I still think my interpretation, just to let everybody know, I thought it was about Laura Dern being haunted by and dreaming about the ghosts of like dead sex workers,
Right.
is how I interpreted it. And I know that for
Which
you,
is a totally valid interpretation. I mean, there's no wrong way to interpret a David Lynch film.
no, yeah, but would you like to share kind of how you interpret it and what you think the plot of this film is?
Yeah, I mean the way that I've interpreted it, and this is a common read that you will see on a lot online and from other from other people who have written about this film, is that it's a movie about movies.
Hmm.
It's, literally you begin with this actress. Well, actually, you don't. You begin with this sex worker who is watching the TV. She's watching the TV and she sees the little rabbits, which we'll talk about later.
Hmm.
Um, but you begin with her watching the TV, and then you transition to this actress who gets a part in an upcoming film, and then she's cast in the film, and they start rehearsing, and then you get into this weird kind of liminal space where you begin with her as the actor, Laura Dern, who's playing this character named Nikki, and then you transition into the character that she's playing in the movie. Well, at the same time, you're seeing these visions of, because the whole thing is that the movie that she's being cast in is a remake of a Polish film, right?
Yeah.
And so there's these moments where you switch to like a Polish cast, and it feels like, is this the Polish version of the film? And you're kind of going back and forth. And then of course the movie ends with Laura Dern on Hollywood Boulevard, and then the film wraps. You pull back and you see the camera, and then she goes into a movie theater, and the scenes that you had just seen are now on the screen. And when we see this room full of these women who are dancing and singing, and then they follow Laura later on when she's on Hollywood Boulevard, I always thought, or I've interpreted as Laura Dern as being haunted by her previous roles.
Hmm.
As an actor, you become these these different characters, these different people, and how you can become like almost like trapped by the roles that you've played in the past, and how that has an effect on you as an actor, as a performer. So yeah, I guess to encapsulate it before we get really into the meat of it, is it's a movie about how actors are really fucking weird. So,
Yeah.
but no, I've said this before to you on the podcast, and in real life as well, is like I really love actors. I think
Oh yeah.
I have a lot of respect for actors as artists and as performers. But I mean, being an actor is a very surreal kind of thing. You're pretending to be somebody, right? And you're creating this entire world and this entire backstory that this fictional individual lives in, that you are then embodying and encapsulating. And one thing that I was thinking while we were sitting in the Academy Museum watching this movie on the big screen is just how dreamlike it is to watch a movie. I mean, have you ever actually like taken a moment to really appreciate how absurd it is that you're in this giant dark room with a bunch of strangers you've never met, and on the screen are a bunch of people who you've never met pretending to be people that don't exist for 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
and just how weird that is. Like it's a
Mm.
strange thing if you really think about it. And I think that really resonated. I think that's something that David Lynch, really resonated with him, and something that he really understood is just how dreamlike movies as a concept even are. And I
Yeah.
think that's what he's exploring in this film is just, movies are the ultimate dreams. Not just in a metaphorical sense, but even in a societal sense, right? How many people have dreamed of being, on the big screen, right? You and I have dreamed of making movies,
Hmm.
so it's like movies are the ultimate dream, and I think that's what this is about. But again, like, you can interpret this in so many different ways. There's so much going on with this fucking film. Um, so many layers, and I feel like that's why I love it so much, is because you can come away with really anything, um, and you can figure out how to make it work. Um, so yeah, I guess that's my interpretation about the movie.
No, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, movies are beautiful. Movies are
They
cool.
really are. Yeah.
You know,
Especially Madam Web.
especially Madam Web, one of the greatest movies ever made. One of the most Lynchian superhero films of all time. Um, I wonder what Sydney Sweeney would do in a Lynch movie. um,
Probably not much.
oh boy. Um,
Uh,
anyways,
and yeah, but no, it's like, yeah, it's crazy too because so we haven't officially introduced this movie. Um, but we are
no,
of
we
course
have
talking about
not.
Inland Empire, which is written, directed, edited, and shot by David Lynch,
Yes,
starring Laura Dern, Carolina Gruska. Look, I'm so
Christoph
sorry.
Christoph Maj Krzak. God damn.
Grace Zabrinsky, Jan Hentz, Ian Abercrombie, Belina Logan, Peter J. Lucas, Amanda Foreman, Jeremy Irons, Justin Thoreau, Harry Dean Stanton, Cameron Dado, Jerry Stahl, Diane Ladd, William H. Macy, Julia Omond, Kristen Kett, Jordan Ladd, Taryn Westbrook, Kat Turner, Terry Crews, Nye, Masumi Max, Laura Herring, Scott Coffey, Naomi Watts, and David Lynch. And synopsis is a woman in trouble,
A
which is the
woman.
tagline of the movie, and I think is pretty much sums up what it is about.
Yeah, yeah. The executives, they didn't know how to market this film, so they asked David. They were like, David, what the fuck is this movie about? And he said, it's about a woman in trouble, and so that became the
Yeah.
tagline of the film. Shot by David Lynch. This movie was shot on digital video camera,
Yes.
and this was something that Laura Dern talked about when we were at the screening. Is she said that the reason why David Lynch did this is because he wanted everyone to know, every kid out there who wants to make a movie, that you can make a film if you
Yeah.
have access to a camera, one of these like really cheap DV cameras, which are now cheaper now. I mean, you can get a pretty good quality camera for a couple $100. Um, you can make a movie, and that's what he did. And
Yeah.
I think that's just fucking beautiful. I mean, really, to have a filmmaker like that, who their entire, you know, uh, their entire, belief is that like everyone should make a movie and everyone should have the
Yeah.
access to make a film. I think that's fucking cool.
Yeah. It's like it's what compare. It's really interesting because like it is that connection between David Lynch and like Kevin Smith. And I'm not saying that as like a joke for once. But no, because like the whole reason, the thing that got me into wanting to make a movie. I mean, I've always been interested in this shit since I was a child. And I've said this before on the podcast, I'm sure, and I know it was in my origin thing, in my bio. Do we still have bios?
I think so. Yeah, on
Yeah,
Buzzsprout. Is
yeah,
that where our podcast is?
yeah. Is that like Clerks? Watching Clerks and listening to Kevin Smith when I was like 16 is what got me interested in wanting to do this shit.
hmm
Because I was like, holy fuck, anyone can make a movie. if this fucking dude from New Jersey can do it in black and white, then I can do it. And again, and Kevin Smith, I'm not trying to make fun of him. He's made some great movies I genuinely love. He's also made Yoga Hosers, and it's but like it's like he's but and I think it's the cool thing is I think it's really great when filmmakers and again I'm not saying that there's anything wrong like because like I like Christopher Nolan a lot.
Hmm.
And he is a huge, proponent of the movie theater experience. He's always in, it feels like there's always a new IMAX camera being invented for him, so he can like make his movies as big as possible. And I
Yeah.
love shit like that. Like I love the grandiosity of like a great film. As much as anybody. Like I think Oppenheimer is one of the best movies of the last 25 years. But there's also something to be said for like these small scale movies, where it's just like, no, you can do this tomorrow because yeah, I can't have an IMAX camera created for me, or anything like that. But like I could go out with my fucking. I don't have an iPhone, I have an Android. But it's like I could go out with my phone, or I could go like buy like a smaller camera and just fucking make something. And like as long as you make it visually interesting, you know what you're doing, and you read up on it a little bit, you can make a fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, and you and I have done that. We've made like what, like three movies at this point together. Well, three movies that have been finished.
Yeah,
Four if you count the one that'll never see the light of day. Um,
yeah,
and this year I'll be making another film myself.
yes. Which great fucking script by the way.
Thank you very much. I've gotten a lot of
Yeah,
great feedback on my script,
yeah,
so I'm looking forward to making that. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna make it happen. And
hell
that's what
yeah, man.
everybody at home should do too. If you want to make a movie, make it happen. But no, that's great. I mean, and I think it's amazing that even later in life, David Lynch still had that connection to kind of his roots, if you will, right?
Mhm.
Of understanding that like, you should be like paving the way for the newer generation and inspiring them and really telling them that anyone can do this and anyone should, right?
Yeah. Well, I
And
think that's why his his cameo in The Fablemans is so great.
mm-hmm,
And it kind of and that's the true because you would say like like Inland Empire was his last like feature film. Twin Peaks: The Return was his last like really like big thing he did, and then his cameo in The Fablemans where he plays John Ford and he gives that advice, and it's really nice because yeah he's kind of a prick in it a little bit like he's very abrasive, but then at the end the kid's like loves it so much he's like thank you so much he goes my pleasure. It, makes me sorry, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. Fuck. That scene makes me very emotional, especially since he's passed away.
mm-hmm,
Because it's just like it is that love of inspiring the next generation and like believing them instead of just shitting on them, which you see from a lot of people. Like I'm a huge wrestling fan, and a lot of older wrestlers, a lot of old promoters, they just want to be assholes
right.
and they don't want anything new, they don't want to inspire anything like that, they just want things to be the way it was, and they want to get and there's also a jealousy of people doing what they did previously
Mm-hmm.
when like the next generation you should be fucking so excited that there are new voices being heard and people wanting to come up and do this shit and it's like and this is everything like because me and you we love a ton of shit like my major passions in life as far as like art goes, like I love movies, I love TV shows, I love comic books, I love pro wrestling, I love music. And the thing that you see so much is people just being fucking dicks and holding on for too long and getting angry at anything new. And that is horseshit. Like how
Yeah,
many
they're
times do you hear
they're
people
they're trying to be gatekeepers, basically.
yeah, like how many often do you hear people go, "Oh, there's no good music anymore. All new music sucks." It's like no, you just fucking like the music you liked when you were 16, and that's fine. I listen
Yeah.
to fucking classic shit from way before I was born all the time. But like the point is, there is new shit out there. It's just why don't you go look for it? There's probably something you will like.
Mm-hmm.
It's like don't be afraid of new, and don't be afraid of new voices. And that's the thing that's so cool about artists like David Lynch, who he wanted to inspire people and he wanted to show that like because again like look at him. I mean like when he made Eraserhead it was not easy. No one just fucking came up to him and said hey here's the budget make Eraserhead. Although that would be funny if that did happen. but it's like he fucking spent years like building up small budgets and like filming it over time. And he made what is considered like a fucking classic, and it's so good. It's a brilliant movie.
Hmm.
And he forged this incredible career. And the thing that's so great about him was he never really like flinched as an artist. Like he always like I know Dune was like a bad experience for him, and he almost directed Return of the Jedi. Never forget that. Um, but he was always himself as an artist, and that's the reason he didn't get to make as many movies. And that is also the uncomfortable thing is like yeah, he probably could have like taken an easy paycheck and done some like for hire work, but all of his stuff was so passionate and beautiful. And I think that's what a lot of artists need to stick by is like there's nothing wrong with wanting to like make a few bucks directing something that like gets offered to you that you didn't write, or maybe you're not that interested in necessarily.
Well, sure, you got to pay the bills at some point.
Yeah. But like I think having a voice and also just like wanting to make something that makes other people go, holy fuck, I want to make movies. Or like, oh
Hmm.
my God, like I want to be an actor, even an editor. Like the thing that's so beautiful about film is that there's so many ways you can be part of it.
Yeah, it's a
You
very
know,
collaborative medium.
it takes a lot. So I used to work at a movie theater. I worked at a couple movie theaters, but the first one I worked at where me and you met and became friends. I remember. Do you remember the movie like the Great Wall of China movie? It's like Matt Damon's like fighting monsters or whatever at the Great Wall.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
So I have never seen this movie,
Okay.
and I don't plan to. Well, you
Hmm.
never know. I mean, I've seen a lot of weird shit, but I remember we were waiting to clean, and me and my coworker, who I don't care for, were waiting, and she looked at it was like this, and the credits were rolling, and like they're long ass credits because there were a lot of digital effects people, and we were waiting to go in and clean, and she was like, "This is ridiculous," and she was just like, looked at the screen and literally said, "We don't care about you." Like, who cares? And it's just like, I'm pretty sure she's Republican, so I'm not shocked by this. But it's like this thing of like where it's like, it's like, look, I don't give a fuck how shitty of a movie it probably is. Everyone deserves credit for the hard work they put into it.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody, like even like a good friend of ours has worked on casting with us for like our short films, and he'll like try to be like, oh, I don't know if I should be credited because I feel like I didn't do anything. It's like, no, you fucking helped, and you did do stuff. That's
Yeah,
how this works.
yeah, you showed up.
Yeah, this is a collaborative experience. Films aren't made by one person. I that was not intentional. If you remember
Sometimes,
that,
sometimes they are. Every once in a while, there's a movie made by one person, but no.
yeah,
Generally speaking, films are made by teams of people.
yeah, and even like
Yeah.
when we did Same Mistakes, that was a skeleton crew. We had 5 people on set, including the actors.
Yeah. Yes, and that was obviously because of budgetary reasons, and also it was during COVID time
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, we did have and people were doing multiple hats.
Oh
Like
yeah, that
yeah.
was yeah, but that was also like but that was like fun as fuck though. Like it was a great for the most part. It was a great
Hmm.
shoot, and like it's like I guess the point I'm making is, I noticed that we're talking about Inland Empire and we're talking a lot about like what's so incredible about movies. And I think it's because you're correct. I think this is just a movie about movies. And you sit back and it makes you, even though it's like a fucking nightmare, there's some
Hmm.
insane imagery in this.
Yeah.
But it just makes, but you watch it and you're like, man, movies are incredible, especially if you see this in a theater where it 100% should be viewed.
Hmm.
If you want to have a good opinion on a movie, you have to see it in theaters. Like, I'm not, even if you like, there's nothing wrong with watching movies at home. But if you want what your full opinion on it will be, you have to see it in a theater to be like, to get that full experience. Cause that's how it's meant to be watched.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean there is something that really can be you can't you can't replicate that experience of seeing it in a theater. And
Yeah.
and I understand that there are obviously limitations, if you live in a small town that doesn't have a lot of good theaters, or if you just can't go to the movie theater, for example, like maybe you're, sick or immunocompromised or something, then obviously in those instances, you're going to have a difficult time. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you're able to, definitely like watching a movie in a theater is the way to go. It really is, and it's an experience that you can't replicate in your home. No matter how big your TV is or how loud your sound bar is, you're gonna have a hard time getting that experience. Um, it's like a dream, right?
Yeah. That's what Orson Welles said, was that film is a ribbon of dreams.
It is, yeah. And that ribbon is the film. It is the celluloid that comes off those spools.
Yeah. It's
Um, yeah, but I feel like we've spoken a lot about our feelings about this film, our feelings about filmmaking in general, our feelings of Lynch, of David, the man himself. Um, but what is there that can really be said about this film, Inland Empire? I mean, where do you even start? Where do you even begin? I mean, you
with the
you
the rabbits.
with the rabbits. What do the rabbits mean, Caleb?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
I
have
mean,
no fucking idea.
I mean, that's totally fine. It's totally cool to be absolutely confused by the rabbits. I'm still confused by the rabbits. I don't know what they mean on their own. I think within the context of this film, I think the rabbits are kind of they're a TV show, obviously. We
Yeah.
get a laugh track, and of course we have our character, the sex worker at the beginning of the film who is watching them on the TV, and it's kind of they are a children's show, perhaps, that exists within this universe, this very strange, abstract world. That's kind of how I read them. And of
Okay.
course, they do kind of they do mix with the world of the film that Laura Dern's character Nikki is working on, and you get that especially at the end where it's kind of like going back and forth. But yeah, the rabbits are quite something. And of course, one of the rabbits is voiced by Naomi Watts, who is another
Yeah.
fantastic actress. Um, yeah, those rabbits. What do they mean? What are they doing here?
Because I
Um,
was wondering if it is just like, because after thinking about it for a second, like it could be like a kids show thing, or maybe like a kids movie or
mhm.
something that like Laura Dern's character was in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe it's a part of her actors of her oeuvre, right? Her films that she's been in. But
Yeah. Or maybe a rabbit's just a rabbit sometimes.
maybe the cigar is just a cigar, Caleb.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the ultimate trick that David Lynch pulled on all of us. Maybe he just made very normal movies, but he just decided to present them as weird just to fuck with everyone. It was like a 40-year long joke.
You know what's beautiful is that we'll never really know.
We won't. We never
Doesn't
will know.
I love that he
Um,
didn't talk about his movies. As I said, like I love that he wouldn't really like explain this shit because it makes them better.
it does, and I say this. I agree with you, and I say this as someone who loves listening to commentaries, and I love watching interviews with filmmakers, and that was always my favorite part of like listening to the Mark Maron podcast. Was when he would,
R.I.P.
yeah, rest in. Well, Mark is still alive. He's still with
Yeah,
us
yes.
as of the recording of this episode. Oh my
Oh
God,
God.
knock on wood. Um, but his podcast is no longer here. Maybe it'll make a return. Who knows? But that was always my favorite part was when he would interview filmmakers. Like I remember he had Guillermo on, and that was a great
Mm,
episode.
yes.
And I love hearing filmmakers talk. But I think with Lynch, it just makes sense that no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't tell us what to think of your movies. The movies should speak for themselves to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And it's like, and especially to have someone who is such an experimental filmmaker have that philosophy, I think is fucking great. Because it's not like he was like, I want my film to speak for itself, and it's like Iron Man 2, which ironically one of the actors in this movie wrote.
Yeah, Justin Theroux, celebrated screenwriter himself.
Yeah, Mr. House.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, he was in Fallout. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? You know what I'm gonna do, Caleb?
What?
I'm gonna connect this to Star Trek again. Because the original Mr. House was Rene Aubergenois,
Of
who
course,
was
yeah,
Odo
Odo.
from DS9. So there you go,
Yeah.
folks. That's our Star Trek connection for this episode. How will we do it next episode? Tune in next time to find out. Um, it all comes back to Star Trek, Caleb.
Everything is about Star Trek.
Everything is eventually about Star Trek. But yeah, this movie. I mean, is there any? I mean, when you think of Inland Empire, is there something specifically that like pops into your mind immediately where you're like that's what I think of, right?
It's a scary picture of Laura Dern's face.
It's the scary picture of Laura Dern's face. I mean,
Yeah.
what is going on there? What's going on with her scary face in the camera with like the eyes and the mouth and now it's a reaction image on Twitter. Like what's going on there?
Yeah, I think it's like her what how am I trying to phrase this? I think it is her I don't know if insecurities is the word I'm looking for, but it's her perception of herself as an actor and her fear of becoming her roles kind of like being presented to her in the scariest way possible, which is an incredible jump scare.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite an interesting read on it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because like when you are an actor, you are known by your face, right?
yeah, exactly.
And you could say that like as an actor, especially in the American film industry, you are the product, right?
Yeah.
You are selling yourself, you are selling your performance, you are selling your physical appearance,
Yeah.
and there is that moment when Laura Dern is having her freak out on Hollywood Boulevard where let me see, I made a note on here where she calls herself a whore, right?
Yeah.
And
She
that
does,
kind of
yeah.
goes back to what you were talking about. Like, is Laura Dern's character haunted by deceased sex workers, right? Um, I'm sure that there have been very problematic directors and very problematic filmmakers in the past who have compared what actors do to, being a quote unquote whore in a way, right?
Yeah.
And maybe is David Lynch making a comment on that? Is he kind of putting that in the forefront of this film of like, this is, actors are selling themselves similar to what a sex worker would do. And that's why we begin with a sex worker. The very first scene in the film is a sex worker who's going to
Hmm.
meet their client. I mean, is there something there, Caleb, or are we just getting too far up our own ass?
No, I think that there definitely is something there. Like with that comparison of like, just also because I think about mistreatment, right? Like, 'cause sex workers
Hmm.
have been treated horribly by the people um who are using their services, like historically, have
by
been
yeah
very mistreated.
by their clients, by society, and by the
Yes.
police as well. Never forget
Yeah.
that the police also abuse sex workers, because ACAB, uh, all day every day. But yeah, like yeah, sex workers are very abused, and you can make the argument. And I mean, I don't even think it's an argument. I think it's just a fact that actors have been abused as well,
Oh yeah.
not just by filmmakers, but also by executives and by moguls as well. I mean, we
Yeah.
were talking before the podcast about certain files that have been released that may or may not include Donald Trump in them. They do. He's there. But these connections to other producers like Harvey Weinstein, and how he used his position of power to abuse actors, sexually. And yeah, I mean, is there some kind of connection there that Lynch is making between how sex workers are treated and viewed versus how actors, specifically actresses, are treated and viewed?
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so this, and I want to clarify, this isn't directly related to this, but it's with how I think this story, and this is what I always keep in mind as like a director, and also just I think how, if for anyone who hasn't heard, if you know me personally, I've probably told you this because I just found this really sad when I found this out like a few years ago. So there was a TV show that ran from 1997 to 2003, which is one of my favorites of all time, called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Anybody who knows me knows I fucking adore this show a lot. It was created by a very, very shitty man who looks like a peanut, wished to be human, and named Joss Whedon. And Joss had a horrible relationship with all the actors in his shows because he treated them like absolute shit, including firing Charisma Carpenter because she got pregnant in real life, and absolutely destroyed that character before writing her off in an extremely rude way. He wasn't allowed in to be alone in the same room as Michelle Trachtenberg, who was underage at the time, because he was creepy towards her. And there are countless examples from pretty much everybody he worked with. And then also when he was on, took over the Justice League shoot, where he treated those actors very horribly, especially Ray Fisher, who has been extremely vocal about being very mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and these are all stories, but there is one story that I think about a lot, which is from James Marsters, who, for people who don't know, he played Brainiac on Smallville. He was Piccolo in that live action Dragon Ball movie that I've never seen Dragon Ball, but people get upset about. And he also plays Spike on Buffy, which is the best character in the show basically. And there is some spoilers for Buffy. There is a scene later in the series where season 6 of Buffy is just super fucked up, and they got really weird with it. There's a scene where James Marsters' character has to attempt sexual assault on somebody. And that was a really big mistake. They shouldn't have included that in the show. And James Marsters was like, I don't want to do this. Like, please don't. And then afterwards, when they ended up filming the scene, it's horrible to watch. It's like one of the worst things they've ever done on that show. And afterwards, James Marsters said to Joss Whedon, he's like, you don't understand what you make us do.
Mm.
And then he had to go to therapy because he did that scene, because he didn't feel comfortable with the fact that he was like even had to pretend doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that is such an important story. It is so pivotal to know with like how to treat actors and to be aware that they are fucking human beings. They are not chess pieces or toys that you're playing around with or anything like that. They are people. If they have a problem with something, fucking listen to them. If they're uncomfortable with something, fucking listen to them. Like, just don't treat people like absolute shit, because it has actual effects on them as people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, it's extremely fucked up. And I think this movie does really shine a light on how actors are treated. Like, even whenever they're filming the scene where Laura Dern's character is like filming that death scene,
mm-hmm.
and she kind of just keeps laying there
Yeah,
for a long time.
as everyone else around her is like, putting everything away and cleaning everything up, and nobody's there to like support her after this very emotional scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like I think that also says a lot, which is like, again, like it's like acting is not easy. Yes, a lot of actors get into a very privileged position where you get to make like millions of dollars for pretending to be other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool, but there's a lot of it that sucks, and a lot of it that can be exploited, and it's just really fucking sad.
Yeah, it is very sad, and it's awful because for a lot of people, like there is this, this is their ultimate goal, right? This is something that they've wanted to do since probably they were kids, and how they've been taken advantage of and been put into these positions where they are made to feel powerless. It's not good,
Yeah.
and it is good now that there's been a pushback on it, right?
Yes.
With a lot of like these old style producers who were known for being very violent and very abusive, they're getting, pushed out, hopefully. And of course, over the last few years, with the introduction of the job of of an intimacy coordinator, to make sure that actors are not taken advantage of, and especially women actors as well
Yeah.
are not taken advantage of during these very during these very emotional and very during these very emotional and very intense scenes where they are being where they're just like putting it all out there, right?
Yeah.
And you see that happen in this film where the character of Nikki, as played by Laura, has this incredibly emotional scene where she's murdered on Hollywood Boulevard, and then afterwards she's just kind of expected to just get up and go, I guess. It's like, all right, we're done
Yeah.
now. You know, you just got killed. You just dealt with your own mortality on screen for everyone to see. In a very in a very fucked up way. See you later. See you at the rap party, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, it's I don't know. I think, I think ultimately, you know, like the tagline of this film is like, a woman in trouble, but I think it's ultimately is just about like how actors are human beings. I think, and I think that's the most, I think that should probably be the biggest takeaway from it. And also that Laura Dern, that scary face is very scary. That pops up.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And there's a lot of moments in this film where, because it's shot on DV and because like David Lynch gets really close on a lot of the actors, there's a lot of moments that feel very uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
this, of course, is another thing about seeing movies in theaters versus seeing them at home. Is when I rewatch this film at home, a lot of the same close-ups, it's on your TV, so it's a lot smaller, and the TV is 6 or 7 feet away from wherever I'm sitting. But when you watch this film in a theater, seeing those giant, huge close-ups of Laura Dern's face, or William H Macy's face, or Justin Theroux, these moments are so. I don't know. I don't know if the word's intimidating that I want to use, but it's very uncomfortable. Yeah, it's a very uncomfortable film, but in a good way, in a way that you welcome the uncomfort, because it makes you it really makes you kind of appreciate the things that these people go through.
But no, exactly. Is like I think that the discomfort of this movie, it it's great because like I love it when movies make you feel uncomfortable. Like I
Hmm.
think that's important. Like I think my experience watching this in theaters, where I was like, "Holy fuck! I want this to stop! Somebody stop this!"
Yeah,
I wasn't screaming that; that would be insane. But it's like I was just thinking that in my head.
that
I
would be
think that's
very
great.
Lynchian. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a great way to enjoy it. And you'll find that a lot of his movies end up in movie theaters because Mulholland Drive also has that scene.
yeah, where it's also in a theater.
Yeah. And it's very, I don't know. I think that his perception of like how, again, like what you were saying earlier, how weird the going to the movies is and being in theaters are, it's like just like the surrealness of it, like is
Hmm.
obviously something that he resonated with and thought about a lot.
Yeah,
While he was meditating, I'm assuming.
yeah, doing his meditations. It's good to meditate, right?
Yeah, he taught Michael Cera started meditating because of him.
Yeah, that's how they met, wasn't it? In a
Yeah,
meditation class, and that's how he got
yeah,
cast in The Return.
yeah.
Yeah, there's this incredible in about halfway through the movie. There's this incredible like 15-page monologue that Laura Dern
Mm,
gives,
yeah.
and when we were at our screening, Laura told us the story about how David Lynch had like dropped it off at her house, like all handwritten, and he said like, "All right, you have to learn this now because we're gonna be shooting this next week."
Yeah.
And what do you think about that 15-page, it was 14 or 15-page monologue that Laura Dern's character delivers halfway through the film that then becomes kind of peppered throughout the rest of the movie?
I think it's incredible. Like it's some of the best acting I mean, she's brilliant in this, but it's some of the best acting she does in the movie. And it's
Hmm.
also that thing of like that kind of thing where it's like, having someone do like a 15-minute monologue, you can really only do that with like a director and actor who are like as close as they were because they were like good friends in
They
real life.
were,
They'd been
yeah.
working together for like, 20 years before this.
Hmm.
So it was like it's like that dynamic and like I think David Lynch is such a brilliant filmmaker and artist that he can pull off like dropping something up and Laura Dern is such an incredible actor that it's
Hmm.
like okay I can do this in the next week you know and it just I don't know it just fits and it works and she's brilliant in it. It's like it's very upsetting, but she just sells everything. It's such a different performance than you're used to seeing from her, where she's very like gruff,
Yeah.
which isn't a word I would ever use to describe Laura Dern in like any of her other roles. I don't think.
Well, maybe in Jurassic Park she gets a little gruff when she's
Oh yeah, yeah,
when she's being chased by the Velociraptors.
yeah.
And then of course later on in was it Jurassic World where she shows up again with what was the plot of that movie? The killer grasshoppers.
Oh yeah, the killer grasshopper. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I remember my letterbox review at the time that I said that it should have been about Bryce Dallas Howard and Laura Dern solving dinosaur crimes. It should not have been about grasshoppers and lazy callbacks.
That would be incredible. I would watch a movie with Laura Dern and Bryce Dallas Howard investigating dino crimes.
Dino detectives.
Dino detectives, baby. We love alliteration over here, folks, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. But no,
Um,
she's just wonderful in this movie. That like she should have been nominated for it. Like genuinely, I'm not even just saying that because of the like meme of like David Lynch with the
that
cow.
you're currently sitting in front of right now.
Yeah, like I'm not even saying that because of what's behind me. I'm just saying like I think that she should have been because she's brilliant. And again, I think that the actors in David Lynch movies they really didn't get that like Oscar recognition for their performances that they should have. I know we were talking about this like maybe last week or the week before.
Yeah.
And it's like a bummer because like it would have been cool to see like Nicolas Cage or like Laura Dern or fucking I like how I can't Kyle MacLachlan or like anybody like actually get like recognition. But also I think that's why it's important. Like yeah, awards are nice, but they're not like the end goal of creating art. Like it's a wonderful like the way I view the Oscars is like it's great when someone I love or someone that I really respect or admire wins
Hmm.
and sometimes Jamie Lee Curtis wins. It's like it's just how that kind of stuff works. It's but like not whatever. But it's like that's how I view it. Is like awards can be fun, but also at the same time that's not the entire reason. It can be a wonderful celebration, but also sometimes they I don't know, I'm not gonna go on a whole rant about annoying jokes and having most of the award shows being like the host on stage instead of actually giving awards. We're not gonna get into that. Also feels like this does feel like a good spot to just say fuck Bill Maher. No reason in particular. Just wanted to say that because of recent stuff. Fuck
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah. Fuck Bill Maher, just in general. He's
Yeah.
just a fucking asshole. Um,
Yeah. Um, but a shout out to Wanda Sykes, by the way. But it is anyway, sorry, I'm getting away from myself. But like, yeah, I think that Laura Dern, like, she's amazing in this movie because she has to play like because I know that before she was talking about it, where she said to David, she's like, David, like, what characters am I playing exactly? And he said, No, idiot, you are all the characters.
yes, yes. I loved that story that she told. It was spot on. Yeah, she
Yeah,
plays like three different roles here. I think maybe even more. Probably
yeah,
yeah, maybe every scene she's a different character. You know.
that's kind of how I viewed it, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of recurring motifs, there's this line that's said in the film that I feel like really encapsulates a lot of this what's going on here, at least for me. And you hear it three different times in the film. And that line is, "Look at me and tell me if you've known me before."
Yes.
What what does that mean to you? Because I have an idea of what it means for me, and
Hmm.
it kind of relates back to how this is a movie about movies and a movie about actors. But like, what do you
Yeah.
get out of that? Look at me and tell me if you've known me before.
I think it's a David Lynch way of saying, do you know don't you know who I am?
Okay.
It's kind of that kind of thing. Not in an aggressive way with how that's associated, but I think it's more of just this like kind of like it's this like recognition of like, oh yeah, you know me, come on, that kind of thing. And I think it's really interesting. I think it also kind of relates though to like life in a way of like where like how many times you run into somebody you haven't seen in years, and it's like, or even I ran into an old coworker of mine the other day at my current job.
Hmm.
He didn't know I was working there, and I kind of walked by him and I was like hey, and he kind of like for a second was like what, and he was like, oh, it's Caleb, and it's like that kind of thing of like of recognition where you don't always recognize people immediately,
Hmm.
and it's great. It's It's one of those lines that like it fits so perfectly in a David Lynch movie. It's wonderful.
Yes, it does. I really love the line, and whenever it comes up in the film, and I believe it's said three different times.
Yeah.
One of the times is in Polish. Um, I just love it, and yeah, look at me and tell me if you've known me before. We also get a great fourth wall break where we see the sex worker character, and then this other person kind of comes into the frame, looks directly into the camera, and is like, "Who is she?" Right?
Yeah.
It's like, "Who is she, Caleb? She's us. She's the audience. We
Mm.
are the audience watching this movie with her." That's how I view it.
No, yeah.
I think this whole film, there's so many fourth wall breaks of like characters looking into the cameras or commenting on things that are going on, you know. Um, yeah, brutal fucking murder, right?
Yes.
Grace Zabreski says at the beginning of the film.
Yeah. She's so good in this too.
She is amazing. I feel like she's an incredibly overlooked actress. And of course, talk about actors not getting the respect that they deserve. Talk about character actors
Mm.
who are treated like B-list actors. And I guess in a technically like they are B-list. But
Yeah.
man, some of my favorite actors, some of the best performances have been from character actors.
Oh, yeah.
Really. And Grace is fantastic in this film. She's fantastic in the other movies we talked about, like Wild at Heart, and she was great in Twin Peaks. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, great fucking role, and everybody in this movie is just fucking crazy. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Even Terry Crews when he shows up.
He has one line and it is fucking hilarious.
It is, yes, yeah. I like when they're talking about taking the bus to Pomona,
Yeah.
because I've been to Pomona. I've been to Pomona a few times, and I assume there's a bus that goes to Pomona, but I know I'm more familiar with the train. There's a train that goes to Pomona from LA.
Yeah.
But anyways, um, I want to talk about before we wrap this up, because I feel like we've talked a lot about this, and in case there's anything else you want to say, Caleb, please
Mm.
feel free to say it. But I do want to talk about the end credits, because
Yes.
it's some of my favorite end credits in any film ever. We get this incredible rendition of um, Preacher Man by Nina Simone. Nina
Yeah.
Simone, one of the greatest vocalists of our time, one of the greatest singers of any time. And during this whole thing, we get, in my opinion, how I kind of viewed this is we're getting these callbacks to David Lynch's previous films, where we have like we have a woman who has a wig on that looks very similar to the hairdo that Patricia Arquette has in Lost Highway. Um, of course, Laura Herring is there, who is in Mulholland Drive. There is a lumberjack who's cutting up a log, and to me, that's like a reference to Twin Peaks. And then, of course, we have Laura Dern, who's wearing this dress and has this hairdo that, to me, reminds me a lot of her character Blue from Blue Velvet. Um, to me, it's like a reference to all of his previous films. But I mean, what do you think about this end credit scene, and just like how fucking crazy it is and how wonderful?
I fucking love it because it kind of feels like the nightmare shifts into just an actual like kind of like weird vibey dream where you're like, oh, this is nice. I don't understand what the fuck's going on really, but I'm having a great time. And it's really nice, and I love, and everyone was digging it in the theater too. Where like we
Yes.
all everyone did the ovation when the credits started, and then afterwards as well.
Yeah, because you have the credits begin with with David Lynch's credit, everybody claps, and then we get that amazing rendition of Nina Simone, and it's fucking great, and it's a great way to end the film. It really
Yeah,
is, you know. Um, it's like the nightmare is over, right? Nikki has come out the other end, and we have this beautiful scene where we have the sex worker who we began with at the beginning of the film, and we see her at the end of the film. She's finished watching the movie that's been made, and Laura
yeah.
Dern comes into the room with her and gives her a kiss, and then she
Hmm.
disappears. And then the sex worker goes home to her family, and it's like that's what art can do. Art
Yeah.
can like really save you. It can save you. It can help you. It can be there for you when you need it. I mean, there have been so many times when I've, had a really shitty day and I come home and I'm just like, fuck, man, I'm just going to watch a movie, try to feel
Yeah.
better, and that's what art, I mean, that's what art can do in general. Art can just like, it can be that salvation that you need from darkness. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what Lynch was maybe getting at, or at least what I'm getting out of it, is that this woman who was in a dark place was saved because she watched this really fucked up movie with Laura Dern.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great. It's a great scene. Very emotional. I mean, the whole last like 20 minutes of the movie is very emotional, very crazy. Um, but yeah, what a fucking picture, dude. What a movie.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's an incredible piece of art, and I'm just glad it exists. And it's again one of those things where we talk about this with the Star Trek series, and then with this, where it's like, yeah, David Lynch, unfortunately passed away, but like his art's still here. We can still enjoy it.
Yeah,
We can
and
still see who he was.
absolutely, and it's never going anywhere. I feel like David Lynch will always be remembered and will always be appreciated and celebrated as we are celebrating him now. And hopefully our listeners, knocking over my mic, hopefully our listeners will also celebrate him and go watch his movies. And hey, we still got a handful of, still got a good handful of movies of his we haven't talked about yet. Eraserhead, Elephant Man, Straight Story.
Yes,
We can always do a Twin Peaks episode
I think we
on the
have to.
show. We will. We'll have to put that on the list. But yeah, Inland Empire, Lynch's final feature length film. Is there anything else we want to say before we sign off and we go into our dream world?
Sorry, I feel like I disassociated for a second. Like I feel like
It's
I started glitching.
you went into your own dream, Caleb. That's what happened.
Exactly. I think at the end of the day, like my closing thoughts are just, I think David Lynch was a cold ass honky. I really liked him. And I think he made some great art. He seemed like a really interesting guy to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, he was just a fucking a true artist. And I know this is a term I've used a lot, and I don't know, maybe it sounds pretentious, like how much we've talked about, with like art, but like I don't know, sometimes it's okay to sound a little pretentious when you're talking about stuff. It's like if we were talking about paintings and stuff like that, it would sound pretentious because it's like, I don't know. I think it's fine. It's fine to appreciate art and love art. Just don't be weird about it. Don't get into weird arguments and get nitpicky and say stupid stuff about like music being in movies and shit like that. Like, don't don't be a dick. Also, that's what I'm gonna say. Don't be a fucking dick. Stop it.
Yeah, yeah. Don't be a dick. Go watch some great movies and love movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what this podcast is all about. Is about love because in our old podcast we kind of made fun of shitty movies a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And this podcast, I mean, I know we talked about like Star Trek Five, but like, it's mostly about movies we love.
Yeah. Every once in a while, we'll throw in like an X-Men 3. You know.
I mean, from the
Uh,
director of Melania.
yeah, from the director of Melania. Fucking fuck that guy.
I know.
Um. Anyways, well, I guess that's it, Caleb. I guess that's the end of our second. The previous time we only spoke about Mulholland Drive, right? We didn't do like a whole series on Lynch, right? We just did like
No,
one episode.
we did Mulholland Drive and then we did Dune. We had our
Yeah.
Dune episode.
Hmm. Well, I guess this is the end of our first Lynch series, and I look forward to doing another series on Lynch. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully next year, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, with all of that being said, Caleb, this has been another episode of the Viva Film Podcast. Um, I have been Anthony.
My name's Caleb. Also, fuck ice.
Yes, fuck ICE and fuck Trump. And join us next week when we talk about more movies. Or if, in a few weeks. Join us next time. And subscribe and whatever. And leave a comment below saying fuck ICE.
Smash that like button.
Smash the like button. We'll see y'all next time, folks. Good night.